This is where the vulnerability comes in. So through my car accident and all that stuff happening, I started going through really seeing people, not just who they are, but just people, like the nature of people and how you truly can't depend on people. So I started seeing who my real friends were. Months would pass, 3 months, 6 months, and people that I thought were my real friends were not my real friends. It like 3 months, 6 months passed, and they come hitting my phone trying to check up on me. And I'm like, and it made me really mad because it was just like, you knew what happened to me and you want to hit me up 3, 6 months later talking about, oh, hey, thought of you. Just wanted to see how you were doing. Oh, you thought of me. Okay. 3, 6 months later, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I was hurt. Um, Even the guy that I made um, that I showed, my business thing to, that got signed up, my childhood friend, like, I known this guy since middle school, like actually like right before middle school. And he would have been one of the last people to have seen me alive if I would have died that night. And he never hit me up once, ever, even to this day. I have seen him over the past couple years, but he never hit me up to see how I was doing, to check on me. My family went about their life. My mom had just gone through a divorce in 2016, literally, like their papers got final, like I think it was like 3 days before Christmas. And then my car accident happened that following year in April 2017. And my dad, because of what happened between the divorce and then me getting in the car accident, he got on his drinking and driving and got another DUI, and he actually had to go to jail and do some time. Um, but even the day, that morning in the hospital, because they, like I told you, they had to cuff my dad to get him to calm down. So they did put him in a cell for a little bit. They just didn't charge him with anything. They just needed him to become sober, and get to that calm point and everything before they could release him. Um, he came in the house to get his stuff, and he didn't. I was in the basement, I was sleeping. He didn't come say nothing to me. He didn't check on me. I, Even if you're embarrassed, you know what I'm saying. As a man, as a father, you should still like kind of man up to your wrongs. And my dad has always had like a difficulty of doing that, like when he's wrong. Um, and so my mom, she ended up dating a guy that she used to date when they were teenagers. And basically, just everybody was going on with their life, and I was going through hell. My brother was becoming a pilot at the time. He was in piloting school. He never hit me up once to check up on me and see how I was doing. I found out later, you know, later in that time, that he was hitting my mama up, asking her, how I was doing, what treatment I was going through, and stuff like that. I would have never known that if my mom didn't tell me that, but I was still mad because it's like, okay, you hit up mom, hitting up mom ain't hitting up me. Like, I'm your sister. Like, you should call me. Like, there's ways of you getting in contact with me. Even if you call mama's phone, you'd be like, hey, put her on the phone. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, calling mama ain't calling me. So I don't know. There ain't no freebie on that either. You know? And so I was just going through a period of my life as this stuff was happening, and it was hurtful. It was very hurtful. I was so hurt. I was so alone. I became very alone. And just didn't have people there because like how I try to tell my mom, because like I said, she got in a relationship literally within a month of my car accident. There's this new dude coming in the house and whatnot. Um, and I try to tell my mom, you can multitask, but you can't multi-focus. So she couldn't put her focus on me with everything I was going through, and really be there to comfort me. She handled the financial part of stuff, getting in touch with the insurance, the lawyers, um, stuff like that, because that was just stuff I couldn't handle, which, that's great. Thank you. But the real, everybody knows that's been in certain situations that money really children don't care about money. We appreciate it. I'm not trying to sound selfish. Like, we appreciate it, but really what kids care about is the emotional side that you get from your parents. The spending time, the being there for them. That stuff money can't buy. Money come and go. We can always get some money. You know what I'm saying? Shoot, especially today, created GoFundMe. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get some money, take out a loan, and that's nothing. You know, um, for plenty of people, money is nothing for plenty. Like a lot of people. Some people, yes, don't have money, but I'm fortunate where I come from. You know, a family where, if you want to say like we have money, we weren't like that all the time. Okay, it wasn't silver spoon type thing all the time. I came from a good family, um, but we had struggle. You know, we didn't always live in the best of houses and places, drive the bestest of cars. You know, but that was all something that's been worked up to. But yeah, um, but yeah, kids don't really care about money. Like, we appreciate it. I know I appreciated it. Not trying to sound selfish, but it's the stuff that money can't buy that we really want. That's what kids really want. And so, and at that time, I needed that comfort. I needed that love. I needed that attention. Help on the emotional standpoint. Of you physically being there, not money, not using money to try to help. No, you. And so through that, um, what was popping in my head, the scripture that was popping in my head was, because God, it was like God was using situations, circumstances, experiences to show me His word, like to show me how true His word is, um, and how alive it is. And the scripture that popped up in my head was the one when He talks about don't put your trust in man because man will always fail you. And I was seeing it, I was living it, I was seeing it firsthand, and I just saw how true that was, and I was just it really touched me in a way of just God starting the process of revealing Himself to me, in a very very true way, and it was hurtful. The thing with experiencing God, you're going to experience the good and the bad. That's what people have to understand when you talk about having a relationship with God, that it's not about religion, it's not about tradition, it's about a relationship. You're going to see the good and the bad. And He's blessed me, He's prevailed me through all of it. It was literal hell that I went through, but I've seen so many beautiful things, from it. And it sucked. And so the stage that I got in between, the family, friends, and I mean, I've seen a side of evil people, like even just with coworkers. God was just showing the world to me, man. Like, I seen evil, but I ain't never seen evil when a person is literally down and people will kick you while you're down. You know, like they'll kick you, stomp on you, and it's like I'm already down, dude. I'm down. And I just seen a new type of evil of the world and just people, and so that's why I say like God was through experiences and situations, he was showing me himself and his word, because through everything I was going through, he never left me. As alone as I was, as dark of a place that I was in, he never left me. That was the one thing I always noticed and seen, that he never left me. And so um because of the kind of injuries I had and like the pain level, they wanted to put me on opioids. So they wanted to put me on oxycodone and Percocets. I don't know the medical term called, I just know the street term because I can't pronounce it. Y'all know these big little medical words that they be having that don't be making sense. Just, you know? And but the street term Percocets. And I've had friends on that stuff, like, as teenagers, and I see how it messed up their life. And so I was just like, no, we ain't gonna do that. No, you ain't gonna put me in, you ain't gonna ruin my life. Okay, you ain't gonna ruin my life. And so instead of me taking that, I smoked weed. I smoked a lot of weed. Not on a medical, because the way I was smoking weed, I didn't, even though I could have got my medical card due to my conditions, I didn't want to be dependent on it, even though I did become dependent on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't want it to turn into an addiction, even though it like turned into an addiction, because I became dependent on it, from the pain level that I was going through, to the anxiety that I had, to the depression that I had, and the mild PTSD that I had. I was just going through so much, and all these things hitting me all at once. Things that I've never experienced before. I've never experienced where loud noises that don't bother you all of a sudden bother you. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't necessarily jump, but on my inside, I was screaming, like I'm feeling intense. Like the one thing I hated the most when it came to noises with my mild PTSD was motorcycles when I would be driving. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to get back comfortable driving again on top of that. And that was the one thing I hate, when you would have a loud motorcycle just go like that, would tense me up so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got through it. I mean, I would breathe, but on the inside, it was just screaming, and my body would tense up, and it just, the sounds and the of the motorcycle, and just loud sounds in general, just, if you've ever had PTSD, it's louder than what it actually is. Like, it's just almost like a ringing, and just it be too much sometimes, and it just, you can almost lose your mind if it just becomes too much. But I was using marijuana. In the state of Colorado, it's legal here. I actually worked in the industry for a little bit. I did it for the money though. I wasn't a pothead back then. Like, I smoked weed, yes I did, occasionally. But when my car accident, I ain't never smoked it the way that I did. Like, I was dependent on it. It was getting me through, man. And it was changing me, like, in the sense of like, this is not how I live my life, but this is how I'm living my life now. But one of the things I told myself, because my mom, she seen it, she didn't like it. But the thing is like, my mom was okay with them putting me on opioids because a doctor prescribed it, but not okay with me being on marijuana. I'm like, Mom, it's the same thing, but just that stuff is way more intense, because it's literally a chemical, like straight, like you talking 500 milligrams, like literally, like my oxycodone was like 560 milligrams. I only weigh 125. Like, doctor talking about, oh, we'll just take half, and I was like, even when the doctor, because they tried to prescribe it to me more than once, but even with that, because I even told, because like I said, God was taking me through like some truth stuff, and he was leading me, because he did create things in this earth that were medicine to us, things in this earth. And I'm not saying weed is one. I'm not one of them people, well, it came from the earth. So you know it's from God. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not. I'm not saying that at all. Not for marijuana. I'm talking about other things. Like turmeric. Natural stuff. Like God was putting me on game with like I started doing research on like foods to eat and stuff like that because I didn't want to be put on opioids, man. Like, because I seen how that messed up people's life. And yeah, I was smoking weed because I was like, I'd rather be on that than some opioids. Because I did. I went like a whole week and a half in the beginning um, without, being on medication. The only medication I would let them put me on was spasm medication, which was like a muscle relaxer. And the stuff for my nerve damage medication. Those were the only two medications I let them put me on. Because even the doctor, he still made me take the pills, like the oxycodone Percocets, and he was like, "Well, just try it, see, how you like or whatever." And when that happened, I was just looking at this dude. I was like, "I know you don't know, dude, because he's a really cool dude. He's a really good doctor." I was just when he was just like, I wouldn't say forcing or pushing it on me, because if you didn't know, why do you think doctors want to write you a prescription every time that they see you? You know, it's because they get extra money from that. It's like dang near a commission. Like they literally get like a bonus check. I don't know what it's called. This is what I'm calling it. I'm not saying that's what it's called, but they get extra money on top of what they already making with their salary and stuff. Like, so that's why they write prescriptions, because they make extra money. They make extra. It's like an extra check, you know. And when I found that out, I was like, oh, that's why y'all always want to be getting us prescription, even when we don't need it. Oh, okay. And so he wrote it up, but like because at that time, like I was already a little bit more like knowledgeable, like just a little bit with the things that God was showing me, and I was like, man, look at this devil. I see what you doing, devil. You not gonna get me. I see what you doing. So, and I took like half of an oxycodone pill, and what I felt, that stuff worked quick. First of all, because like what I would do, I would always read my Bible. I would read at least a chapter or more before I go to bed, and so, um, yeah, like I would read, and that stuff kicked in within like after I took it, I think like 10, 15 minutes or less or something like that. I don't know. All I know is what I felt. I was like, oh no, we not doing this. Like I didn't want to do this to begin with. And I gave him the pills back and everything because I had a checkup with him about the pills. But yeah, so I was on a lot of weed. I smoked a lot of weed for everything I was dealing with, and the thing that I told myself, because I know, sometimes people on the outside looking in, they think you're throwing your life away. And don't get me wrong, like sometimes people are right when they are an outside person in looking in, outside person looking in, seeing what. Sometimes, yes, they can be right, but there are times when you're not right. Okay? There are times when, yeah, you an outside person looking in, you seeing this, but you don't know what you're talking about. You know? Because I know that's how my mama was feeling like I was. Plus, in our family, we have generational curses of alcohol and drug addiction, like within our bloodline. It's really bad on the male side. Like it's more so the males that go through it. With one of those two, they gonna get on one. And so that was always like my mom's fear with me and my brother. But it hits the males more. That curse is on the men pretty bad. But one of the things I told myself was, this is my life for a season. Meaning being on these drugs, this weed, smoking it the way that I'm smoking it, being dependent on it, it being literally my life, because that's what it became. Because I couldn't do anything. Like I told myself, I'm not gonna stay here. That this is just for a season. I don't know how long the season gonna last. Shoot, what I'm feeling, it's gonna be a long season, couple years season. You know, but I'm not gonna stay here. I'm not gonna let this weed overtake me and literally become me. It's just a season. It's temporary. I'm not gonna stay here. And that was something that was the only and most encouraging thing that I told myself all the time. Even as I'm smoking, I be smoking a blunt. I be telling myself, I'm like, I be looking at, I'm like, I'm not gonna stay here, you know, because the way that I relieved my stress, the way that I would do things, to get my mind off of stuff was playing basketball. Play basketball in my life. I literally can play, whether if it's by myself or a pickup game, and I completely forget what I was upset about. I'm not big into weightlifting. I weightlift now, just even after, you know, college basketball was done with. It was just to stay in shape. Now it's to stay in shape, but to get my strength back, you know, um, and everything. And so that's how I would relieve my stress. And so it was really tough. It was really tough for me, um, with going from being an athlete your entire life, always being active, living a healthy life, to being literally still and not active, not able to do any physical activities, any kind of athletic activities for a season, a time. That was hard for me. That transition was like so hard because I became a hippie, you know, and I'm not proud of it, but it was just my situation. It was just what I was going through, and it sucked. I needed something for that pain. I did. I wasn't saved. I wasn't saved yet. I was just in the beginning journey of, finding the Lord and everything like that. And so, yeah, but I started to hate it. I started to really hate depending on weed. Because one, it wasn't me. It's not the type of person I am. It's not how I handle my stress. It's not, but I can't work out. I couldn't even do a push up, man. And I have a video on that too, like where I did my very first push up. It was able to do a couple of them for the first time because I couldn't even lift my body off. I mean, when your entire shoulder blades are sprained, and then on top of that, your spine, like that takes away a lot of your strength, literally, in so many different areas of your body too. I don't even have full strength in my grip and everything too. Just because I got to get my spine, stronger, and the spine takes a long time, and so um, one of the things throughout my depression, like if you've ever had depression, I would hear people before I ever had depression where they would talk about how it'd be like a dark tunnel. Like for an example, they would explain like just the dark place that they're in. And that's a real thing. My tunnel had a light at the end of it, which I believe was Jesus. That was God's way of trying to help me make it out of this place because I went. This was the type of depression I was in. I was in a grave, literally more than 6 feet. This had to be at least 8, 10 feet. Okay, I was in that dark place. I had to crawl out of that. I didn't have no light or nothing. I just knew I was in a grave, literally. Because a part of me did feel like I died in that accident. It really did. And I would say that to my mom, and my mom would be like, "Well, you're here. Like, stop talking like that." But what I believe it really was is my old self, because I was seeking God, and He was leading me to repentance and being born again. So yeah, there was technically a death that did happen that I didn't even know that I was in transition of. But I really did. A part of me just felt like I died that day because my life's not going to be the same. Like after dealing with this and what I've gone, my life is not going to be the same. I'll be stronger from it, and everything, but still, like my life is not going to be the same. And so My like when I crawled out that grave, just a dark tunnel with a very, very tiny light at the end of it, like very tiny. And so I felt like God gave that light to me to focus on to get to. It took forever. Lord, it took forever. It took so long to get to the light, just for the light to get brighter. It took so long because with my recovery, it was not even a full one step at a time. It was like half a step, if that. I believe I had to work up just to a half a step, just to work up to a full step, to it being one step at a time, one day at a time. And it was dark, it was cloudy, raining most of the time, but every once in a while, you know, the Lord would just open them clouds and a little bit of light come through, and you feel that heat, and you'd be like, oh, it's a good day today. Oh man, I got a little bit of light. And you know, sometimes that light would last 1 minute in the beginning. Sometimes the Lord would bless me with 2 minutes. Sometimes it'd be a couple seconds. But I embraced that light because when that heat and just, oh, the dark clouds and the rain just went away just for a little bit. And it just seemed like God kept increasing the time of that little bit of light that came through. Sometimes it wasn't a little bit of light. Sometimes the light came a little bit, you know, it would open up a little bit wider. And it was just steps of working through. And this is just how I'm describing to you guys what my depression type thing was like. But also with that little light that came through that God would give me, like I said, He would increase the time over time. And then sometimes it would open up a little bit bigger than last time, and then it would open up a little bit more bigger, you know, and then sometimes the time would be a little bit long, like 10 minutes. Oh, Lord, thank you. Like, yes, like 10 minutes. Oh, this is great. Like, you know, because that's how bad it was. Like, that's how dark it was. But when He opened that light for me, it was just like, oh, this is such a great day. I don't feel so sorry for myself. I don't feel so bad. And I don't feel so down. And, you know, I got a little bit of joy in my life right now, you know, like what I learned with that was God was just showing me like how to just appreciate the little things, you know? And then I remember when He opened it all the way and it was nothing but light, wasn't no more clouds and rain. Oh, that was a great day. That was a great day. But it was a humbling, you know, it was just a really humbling experience that throughout my, you know, just this recovery, because it took me 4 years, literally almost a whole 4 years, to get to a place where I could gradually start getting into the old activities that I used to do, like working out. You know, it's 2024. So these last, what, about 3 years, about 3, 4 years, I've been able to just gradually get back into the stuff I used to do. And I'm still gaining my strength back to this day and everything. And so I know I've jumped around a lot, y'all. Like I said, just bear with me. But accident happened in 2017 when God told me that it was the end of the world. It was too much for me. I didn't seek Him anymore. At the time, the job that I was doing, we were looking at moving out to Vegas. And because of everything that I was going through with just, I guess, you know, like rejection, and pretty much in a sense, and like, you know, friends not being there, friends that you thought was your real friends, your family members, you know, I was mad. I had a lot of anger. I was mad at everybody, like especially my family, because it was like out of all people you would think your immediate family, the one that hit me and hurt me the most was my mother. I went through a lot with my mom, you know. I had a lot of anger towards her because you birthed me. I was in your womb, you know, like you had a certain type of connection with me that I'm not trying to take away from the connection that, you know, males have, you know, with their child, but like with a woman, it's a little bit deeper because you're literally carrying that baby like in your womb. You're feeling it move, you're feeling things that men don't get to experience, you know, like in that way. And with women, it being our nature to nurture and, do the comforting stuff, just the stuff that men don't do. Men do it, they just do it in their own manly way. That's what hurt me so much, with it just being my mom, because, you know, I didn't have that. It didn't feel like I had that nurturing and comfort, that a mom brings. And so, um, I just had a lot of anger built up. I was very angry, rightfully so, in the sense of a worldly mindset. Um, in the sense of knowing Jesus, we really don't have no right to be angry at all, Um, but it is an emotion and feeling that, we have and that we get and stuff like that. But it wasn't a righteous anger, basically. It was understandable anger, but I had to learn to forgive people, basically. I probably had like a right to be angry, but not. It wasn't it wasn't a righteous anger where you could like, you don't have to repent for it type thing, or like seek forgiveness, where I had to do those things. And with the company, with my company moving out to Vegas, because I was so mad at everybody and just like, not mad at the world, mad at, I mean, a lot of people didn't know what I was going through unless I told them. I'm pretty good at, like, I get it from my mom, where I guess I can hide what I'm going through, but a lot of people, but at the same time, I mean, you can't see it sprained spine, you can't see it sprained shoulder blade, concussion, you can't see that stuff. But even when you tell people that, like, what you're going through, because I had a lot of people be like, "Oh, I wouldn't have never known, like, you was going through this, or this happened to you, because I don't show it." Um, and it's not, I don't show it in a way to be like tough or hard or something, and not be like, soft, like a female or anything like that. It don't got nothing to do with that. It's just a simple fact that I can handle business and not let the whole world feel how terrible my world is right now. Like, I don't have to project what it is that I'm feeling or going through onto. I get it from my mom. I just never been like that. I don't take out what I'm feeling on other people. So yeah, you're never gonna know. And so, because of everything that I was just experiencing with personal relationships, I wanted to move to Vegas. I wanted to leave everybody, get away from everybody, because I was like, well, y'all ain't here for me anyway, so I'm gonna leave. And I'm dang near tired of Colorado anyway, because all these people moving out here for weed, and they just crowding our state. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not even like the way it used to be, because I'm a native. I just wanted to get away from everybody. I was just tired. I was angry. I was mad, and I don't want to deal with people. And so, that was my goal. I wanted to do that. And so, like I said, when God told me what He told me with the ending, end of the world, I didn't look into it. It was too much. So I went about my life still. And so, when I started going about my life, I started falling back into myself, like back into, what's the word? Like, if you want to say the world, even though I wouldn't even say, but there was something happening here. There was something, God was getting me to a place of something that He could work with, where He could get me, lead me to Him, like, basically my eyes were being open, I was waking up, but I was slowly falling asleep, back to sleep, back into the world. So that's what I mean by that. And so, if you remember, which I'm sure plenty of y'all do, when the Vegas shooting happened, at that country concert thing, that happened on a Sunday, right? That Wednesday, I was supposed to fly out to Vegas and go check out apartments and, like, kind of see sceneries of where I would want to live and stuff like that, because I just basically had to wait for my position of my department to open up. And then I could be gone. I could transfer. I already put the request in with my manager and was like, hey, I know we opening up at such and such. I'm interested in, transferring over there, and so I put my transfer in and everything. I just had to wait, and I was gonna have to wait a while, like but it was in the making. A while, me in just a couple months. Um, and so it was just getting closer to that time where they were just getting more established, and I was like, okay, let me go out here, see what Vegas about, find an area that I can live in and stuff like that. Um, I don't care for partying, like the stuff that Vegas brought. So, because people are like, "You sure you want to move there? Because it could be a distraction." I'm like, "Well, I'm not even into all that stuff that Vegas be doing." You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna be fine. Only thing I'm gonna be doing is smoking weed because of my situation. But other than that, I'm just beating myself. Um, and so when that Vegas shooting happened, that was God's way of waking me up again. He started the process because we all know that shooting was a little weird. It didn't make no sense. And it hit a little more home to me because of the theater shooting that happened here in Colorado. So when that Vegas shooting happened and I had heard about it, everybody like came into work and everybody was talking about it, and I was like, wait, what? That sounds crazy. Like, ain't no way. And so I was like watching the news and stuff, like to kind of get more insight and detail, because like I was in disbelief. Honestly, I was like, no way that happened. And then I saw it on the news. I looked up on my phone. I was like, oh dang, this is real. Like and stuff was still because it was the next day, but I didn't end up flying out there because I went from working full time to part time, and I just yeah, like I just didn't really have the money. Plus, I was supposed to go to LA too for like an entrepreneur thing that I like won with Todd Lopez, if you know who that is. Um, I like won one of his whatever things, and I just had to like pay my way out there, and then he was going to take care. It was like one of his little entrepreneur thing, mentorship things that I got or something, but I just didn't have the money to like fly to LA and then fly to Vegas plus hotel, paying for transportation, stuff like that. Like I just didn't have the money, and so I ended up canceling my trip because yes, even though this happened to me, it was still very hard for me to let go of my dreams and aspirations. I was still chasing. I still did a meeting like a couple days after my car accident, even after the fact God gave me that dream and stuff. I was trying to keep what I had going, knowing that I'm not in a healthy place to keep it, but I did try. I did. I did try. And the crazy thing is that I know this was God. I learned later on that this was God. When I kept trying to pursue my dreams, like physically try to, like basically not be still, I would get excruciating pain out of nowhere. Excruciating, like I mean, pain out of this world, like the type of pain to get you to stop doing what you know you're not supposed to be doing. Because I told you I was stubborn. Like it was hard for me to let go of things. Like it was a process for me to let go of everything. I had to let it go all one by one. Like I had to let the the MLM go. Once I let that go, I was still trying to pursue the clothing brand stuff. Like I was still trying to do that, and that one took forever. I had to let go of the love of money, chasing money, because I was finding I was like, well, okay, I can't do the MLM thing. Okay, how about I get into um what was it? Trading. Like I was looking into trading, and I was like, oh, and then I started getting that same feeling I was getting from MLM. You need to stop doing this. You need to stop doing that. And I was just like, oh man. And so I was like getting into that, but I knew that feeling, and I was like, okay, I ain't playing with my life. We ain't we ain't playing with our life no more. So I eventually let that go, and I was like, okay, because I was even praying, I was asking God, I was just very fragile. I was like, Lord, can I do this? I kind of feel like you don't want me to do this, but can I do this? Because I want to do this, and yeah, it was hard. It was hard for me to live. things take time. Like anyone who is going through that transition right now with God, or you've gone through, you know it's a process to let go of your sinful ways, your wickedness. Like it's a process, you know. And that's what it was. I had to let it go one by one by one. But the clothing brand, that took forever. I held on that for a while, like a couple years. Wow. And yeah, but um, that was God's way of waking me up because it was such a touchy place, like at home, because of the theater Colorado shooting. Because I almost went to that. I have friends that went to it, but because they chose Century 16 as the theater to go see the Batman movie, I was like, no, I ain't going. If that's where y'all go, I'm not going because it's ghetto as heck. It's just ghetto. It's ghetto, bruh, and it's just no. I ain't going to that ratchet movie theater. I ain't going. And plus, I had an interview with Southwest like the next day, you know, Southwest Airlines, and so I was just like, no, I'm gonna just get ready for my. That's what I'm gonna do. Y'all go to the movies, but I ain't going to that ratchet ghetto butt movie theater. Not doing it. Me being from Colorado, me knowing that movie theater, me being in that movie theater plenty of times when the movie theater shooting happened, and then they telling us on the news all this stuff that don't make sense. Okay, what you mean it took the Aurora police hours to get to a movie theater that's literally up the street from a police station? That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. That don't, literally in a car they would get there in at least 1 minute tops. That's how close. You literally have the court. It's a court. It's a court building, but connected to it is a police station. This is the court building. The movie theater's right here. What you mean it took y'all? Well, what you mean Denver police is getting there before y'all? That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. What you mean that there was no police officer present in that movie theater? Because the movie theater is ghetto. It's ghetto. There's always, at least, if there's not two police officers in the theater, there's always one. There's never been a time that there wasn't not one police officer, and there were none this day. So it was like stuff like that where it was just like that don't make no sense. That show don't make no sense. And then you got people online talking about, oh, they lying, the news is lying, they ain't telling y'all the whole story, you know. So this is why it was touchy for me when the Vegas shooting happened, because I had friends. I had my friends, the group that I went with, because they were such a big group, they did get split up because it was three showings of the theater, and they were just minutes apart from the start times, and so they did get split up. They weren't all, because ticket wise, they weren't all in the same theater. But none of them were in the actual theater that got shot up. But I did have someone that I played basketball with, my uh, the person I played basketball with, one of my teammates, was in the theater that actually got shot up. Now, thank God for her, it was actually two of them. You know, two of them that were my teammates. Um, some told them in their spirit when he done walked out the door and the movie theater just started. They didn't like that, so they left. You know, because they was sitting within the front row. You know, like you know how you have that front row, and then you have like that walkway, and then you have the other section. They was in that row, and they left. And so it was really touchy for me to look at the Vegas shooting and everything, because you know people want to get into conspiracies and all that, but you know everything ain't a conspiracy, because they did the same thing with the Aurora thing. And it's like those of us who didn't even attend the premiere, we knew, those of us that have been to that movie theater plenty of time, the stuff that y'all telling us don't make sense. So there ain't no conspiracy there. That don't make sense. Y'all lying. And so anyway, um, when the Vegas shooting happened, um, I seen it on the news, and I was listening like all day at work, like about the news and stuff like that. And it wasn't it was reminding me of the Aurora theater shoot, because I'm like, that don't make sense. I don't live here, I'm not from here, but you making me feel the feelings that I felt when that happened. And so I just knew it didn't make sense. Things weren't adding up. And so in my spirit, I kept hearing this voice, God's voice. I kept hearing a voice telling me, look into it, look into it, look into it, look into it. Literally just kept repeating itself. And I was just like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to look, because it was just too tight. Because of what I wasn't in the theater, of course, but I had friends. I met a lot of people over the years that were traumatized by that. I met a girl who had to use bodies. She had to rub other people's blood on her and put bodies over her and look like she was dead, until she could make a run for it. I met people like that. Like you met people over the years who, even though 5 years, 6 years had passed when that happened, they're still traumatized, but like they're still going to therapy for it. And so it was just too touching for me, and I just really didn't want to look into it, but I kept feeling led, and I just kept hearing this voice saying, look into it, look into it, look into it. And on top of that, I was supposed to be out here that Wednesday, but literally days. So that would have been a waste of money because they shut the city down, depending on what area of, you know, if what area. But I was trying to look at a place that would be closest to work. And so we would have been closer to the strip. That whole area was shut down. If you were more suburban, then yeah, I could go check out places, but my plans would have been ruined anyway. But the fact that I was already looking into moving into Vegas, and this happens, I'm just like, something ain't right, and I'm supposed to be moving out here. I kind of need to know what is going on. And it took me a minute. It took me a while. Like I was just like, I don't want to look into this. I don't want to do that. But a voice just kept telling me, look into it, look into it, look into it. And so I looked into it. What did I do? I went on YouTube. And what happened? The same thing that happened with the Aurora shooting. You got people who were there, even have proof to show you that they were there. They telling sides of the story that the news ain't sharing. And so now your eyes, your ear gates are all opened up, and it's like, oh, okay, they lying. Like, they lying, like, but that's where it started. God used that to get my ears and my eyes back wide open, because he started revealing to me what's wrong with the world, what the devil doing, how the devil work in the world, how the devil communicates in the world. Like, so I have a lot of knowledge on that. But that's not what this channel's about. Like I told y'all in my first video, you will hear things. This is not conspiracy. Let's get into no, we're not doing that. Do I know those things? Yes, I do. I have a lot of knowledge of it. I can look at things but the knowledge came from God. That's the thing. So I can see things going on in the world, and I can see when it's the devil, and I can see when it's not the devil, or is God, however, or you want to put it. But that's not what this channel is about. I'm just talking about my experience, and this is some of the stuff that God took me through, what He did to get me to get on my awakening. He used certain things in my life that would cause me to go the direction that He would want me to go. And for a while, yes, I was studying that stuff. But it was God revealing it to me, because God really used YouTube. He really used social media to get me to His truth. Not just to answer the questions that I had as a little kid, tell me about the devil and all that, and how he worked and stuff, and what's wrong with the world. But he also led me to His true people that truly also know Him, that have been with Him longer than, hey, I'm just starting out, to reveal His truth, His word to me, the falseness in the church and everything like that. And the way that He did it was videos would just pop up. Like, it would be the same video, and it would just keep popping up until I clicked on it. Once I finally clicked it and watched it, it never popped up again. And he did that on both sides. He did that on revealing the devil and, things in the world, and revealing himself, because it got to a point where I was getting a little too caught up on that demonic stuff, the demonic, just learning about the devil. Um, because I wouldn't do what I did. I binged because, like I said, because of my situation, I was very desperate to know. I had to know why this happened to me. And like I said, I just have a mindset, just like I did in business, like when I was pursuing my dreams and aspirations, just like when I was pursuing basketball. I'm going to make this happen for me no matter what. I'm gonna go through. I don't care how many trials and fails, um and I'm gonna keep getting back up until it becomes successful. That's how God created me. He put that in me. I can't really give myself the credit. He embedded that type of mindset in me, that I'm going to do whatever I have to do by all means that's legally, to make this happen for me. And so that's how I went into seeking God, because it's just a little more dramatic, a little more like stronger, powerful, however you want to call it, because it had to do with my life. Like, this was life or death for me type thing. And I needed answers, and I wasn't playing around. And so um that was the way that God, started revealing himself to me, like in 2017. It started with that Vegas stuff, and then from there it just went down the line. And I did it in an unhealthy way where I was binging on God's, truth, mostly the truth of the darkness, learning about the devil and stuff like that. Don't do that, because there is a healthy woke, and then there's an unhealthy woke. You want to be healthy woke. And the best way to be healthy woke is to not get caught up. It's good to know that stuff about the enemy and like how he works and stuff, that does help us in our walk to know those things. But it shouldn't be your focal point. That's why when I see channels that are just conspiracy based, but they mention Jesus and they're like, oh yeah, people need to find Jesus, but there's no level of gospel. There's no level of how do you bring people to Jesus, because you're mentioning him, but your focus is the devil. That stuff is, it's not good, because I'm just like, because I really noticed that as I seen those channels, um and they got some good stuff. It was better back then because they wasn't shadow banning. It was like in 2017, it was coming, but you had access to so much more stuff without there being, these little shadow bans, and people getting, them taking videos down. Like, they wasn't doing that yet, but you knew it was on the way, like it was coming in the soon years to come. Where today it's just so, can't say certain words, you can't, it's I'm happy I woke up when I did. I'm not saying you can't wake up in this time, but like the level of knowledge that and access of stuff that you had back then versus now. Not saying God still can't get it to you, but it's just, I'm happy I woke up when I did. I'm not going, just because on a knowledge standpoint, because it's not even just a knowledge standpoint of the powers of darkness, but even God's word. There's people who are truly living their life for God, and they're getting shadow banned like bad, but the truth is still there to be able to be found. But I seen that transition. I seen the difference between what it was like in 2017 to now. It's completely different now. So I'm happy I got to experience that and get the knowledge that I got, that some people will never get, but get it probably in a different way, but not in like the way that I got it, like in the kind of deep way that I got it. But it can still be revealed. Okay. Like, I'm not trying to say there ain't no hope. There's hope. It's just, I know the difference. And anyone that's been in that time, and they know what I'm talking about. Let God reveal that stuff to you, because that's the healthy, woke way of doing it, is to let God direct you to all that stuff. Because what God did show me as I grew in my walk with him, that if you don't have a foundation of him, you gonna get led astray into, you're gonna be deceived at some point. You're gonna get led down the wrong, because that rabbit hole go deep. I mean deep. And if you want to go down that rabbit hole, you need to go down it with Jesus. Seriously. Because there was a point where God was saying, like, I literally had all the knowledge I needed. Because people just it's the same thing. Like, once you really learn everything about the enemy and the dark powers and rulers of this world and how they work, from there it's just repetitive. Because they gonna do what they gonna be evil. They gonna do the devil's bidding. So this pointing out the same thing with all the different celebrities and all the different things in politics and just the world and false flag this and all of that, like, it's the same. Like, once you get just how the enemy work, once you get the enemy's playbook, the devil gonna be the devil. He gonna keep doing everything up until the time of the Antichrist. So that's why you really don't, those conspiracy channel, like, you really don't need it, because his playbook is the same. He does the same thing over and over and over and over again. I don't have to study you only got to study the devil for just to know his playbook, and then from there leave him alone. Like, from there, you don't go down that's as far as you need to go in that rabbit hole. The deeper you go, you gonna get this, you gonna get deceived. And if you go deep enough, you gonna open up a door and get possessed with something. I'm for real. I've seen it. People that look too, because that's not supposed to be your focus. Even God tells us in His Word that that's not supposed to be our focus. Like, you learn about it, but He's supposed to be our main focus. He's supposed to. We're supposed to be focusing on Him. The devil gonna do what he gonna do. He gonna be the devil. He has to do what he has to do to lead up to the Antichrist, to lead up to God's return and the end and all of that. Like, it's been written, like God said, So, like, from there, once you learn that stuff, like I said, do it with let Jesus take you down that rabbit hole, because you gonna get lost in the sauce. I'm telling you, if you do it by yourself without Jesus, you gonna get lost in something that's false, for real, and it's not gonna be good for you. So, um, I was just binging on that stuff, but at a point, like, God was really pulling me. He was like, okay, focus on me now. Like, you got the playbook, focus on me. Like, he was really directing me and pushing me over to him. And then I started learning about him. I started learning about his character. I started understanding more of what I was going through, um, through my car accident, just the testimony that he gave me and everything like that. I started understanding more once I started focusing on him, and I started building my relationship with him. And so when I started focusing on him, he started leading me to what everyone needs to be led to, is to eventually get born again, to salvation, to sanctification. Like, he was leading me to that. And so my accident happened in 2017. It only took me 1 year between learning the darkness and then from there learning God, that God showed me myself and softened my heart and led me to repentance. Every born again believer goes through that, man. You go through the fire where God shows you yourself. He shows you how wicked you are. Like, when you thought you was right in areas, and hey, you maybe were right in some things, but the way you handled it and did things was wicked. And God showed me myself. He showed me how wicked I was, how not good that I thought I was. Because, we all think we good. We think we're better than the other person. Because what we do is we compare our sins to each other versus comparing ourselves to a holy, righteous God. Like, I'm not as bad as that person. That person does this. I don't do that. I've never done that in my life. They're terrible. That's what we do. And God showed me myself, and it softened my heart. He used a person who truly follows, him, lives this life, ain't no false nothing, is a real person, real child of God, not a phony. And they led me to his truth in the word. They led me to the falseness that goes on in the church, what's going on in the church, how messed up the church is, how much the church has derailed from the truth, all of it, and showed me myself, and I repented. So in 2018, repented, had a soft heart, and then from there, God was doing deliverance on me. He was delivering me stuff from that. One of the things that God showed me was that um, not anybody can just baptize you. Not saying that you can't, he can't use it, but it has to be truly, fully Holy Spirit people to like really receive like God's power in a way. Which I'm gonna do with like a separate video on really like explaining that, because there is a difference. But I'm just, it's not that you could be let's say you were baptized by somebody who's willfully in sin, and that happens to be the pastor or something, like they really ain't living that life. God can still, God can do whatever he wants. He can do whatever he wants. It don't mean like you not saved. Like, it's just, there's a power that comes from when it's done a certain way, put it that way. And I experienced that. And so I was like, well, I can't go to my church. I can't go to my family, Lord. If I got to be baptized, by, you know, if what this, lady is saying, you got to lead me to the right people. Because I really felt truly in my heart, like, okay, this is, because I was letting God lead and guide me, because, his word says, don't, don't like put your trust like in man to lead you when he can lead and guide you to all, to all truth and righteousness. Does he use people? Yes, but you got to let him lead you to those people, and he could teach you stuff just one on one with you and him. That's part of having a relationship with people. But he also does use people, because we're not meant to go through this walk alone. But you got to let him reveal who the right people are, and that's what I did. Because like I said, I was just like, I knew not to go to my parents, my mama. I knew not to go to the church, because I was like, something wrong with them. Like, I came from that same, like, from what God's already showing me, I was born into that. I came from that. So if that's not the right way, and God is showing me, he's like leading me on a path of showing me that that's not right, then I'm not going to go over there. I'm going to have him lead me. And that's what I did. I waited. But through that wait, he was showing me stuff. He was revealing stuff with me. I was learning about him. I was developing a relationship with him. And he led me to people who were fully Holy Spirit filled people that spoke in tongues, and they baptized me. And I received tongues as well. After I got baptized, I'm gonna do a whole separate video like on my baptism and everything too. But he led me to those people, and everything that God has shown me has, shown to be, true and everything. And so, um, so yeah, that's pretty much my testimony. I know I was all over the place, y'all. It is a lot. It's a lot. Um, there's even more in depth of my testimony of things that God, showed me. I do want to talk about the road that I was headed down, because one of the things that I prayed about and asked God was, as he was revealing truth to me and, awakening me, I was just like, okay, Lord, you love everybody. Your word says you are not favor of any person. So I know that I'm not anybody special. You love me just as equally as the next person, whether they woke or not. You know, you love your children. You love your creation. But there's got to be more to you warning me to stop doing what I was doing, what I was chasing, than just, oh, I wanted to get you saved so you could come to heaven. Because you want everybody to come to heaven. But there's more to my story. I just felt that. I was like, nah, there's more than just showing me I was a wicked person and a sinner, and that I needed to repent and be baptized, like truly. that there is a repentance that has to take place. It's showing me how to live holy, what holiness is, righteousness. Like, no, I ain't no one special. So, because you want that for everybody. But with my Pacific story, my Pacific situation, you was coming at me heavy. Like, you was warning me you need to stop doing this. So my question was why?